Hello, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. I am B. For those of you that are new to my channel, welcome. There seems to be a recent influx of new souls, and I welcome you here. If you don't know who I am or what I am, my background is I have been filming my own personal spiritual awakening for the last 5 years to assist other people on their own awakening journeys. Why have I been doing that? Because my soul is crazy. Really, at the end of the day, this is not what my will would have chosen. The old version of me would not have chosen this life. I had a question from a client the other day asking me about free will. And I thought it an amazing question, although I giggled because of what I have been through on my own personal awakening journey. My awakening began in 2019, and it has been very slow yet fast at the same time process of complete and utter annihilation of an old identity, and many of those masks that I once wore, I can't wear anymore. And with that, a complete and utter destruction of my life. Everything I once did, everything I once even believed, every person that once was in my sphere, everything in my entire life has changed, including my very DNA. It has been a remarkable process that I am still trying to ground and integrate. So I am not your guru. I am somebody who is on this path with people who are also on this path, and we're here to walk each other home, as the saying goes. So I'm here to shine a light on some of the tools, the tricks, the strategies, the lessons that I have learned, so that other people who are going through this process hopefully don't suffer as much as I have. When I do videos, I do not script anything. I shoot in one take, two if there's an interruption, but one solid take, and I channel the messages that my soul wants to talk about. I do that using the power of storytelling and my own personal experience very purposefully, so as to not present myself as, a guru, a teacher, somebody that has it all figured out, because I don't. I have some of it figured out, and there's a whole bunch other stuff that I don't know. And I take issue with somebody in the world presenting themselves like they know everything. That's something that always kind of irked me a little bit on my own spiritual awakening path, because yes, going to outside counsel is very useful to help you through, and I can recommend, and I can also say, whoa, don't go there, for others who are guides on this path. But ultimately, at the end of the day, nobody knows you as good as you do. So I want to help you step into your own guru-ness, okay? Listening to your body, listening to your intuition, and ultimately listening to your soul. Because what has been necessary for my soul's path may not be what's necessary for yours. And my soul's path wasn't even what I wanted. I wanted to have a normal peaceful life in the Matrix, just like everybody else did. And I didn't understand why absolutely everything I did resulted in disaster. And I was like, well, my mother is saying that I am the common denominator. Maybe I am the not common denominator. And so I internalized all these happenstances, these external shitty situations. I internalized them and became a walking, talking bundle of self-hate. And I wanted to hide away in a dysfunctional, abusive marriage and pray that, it was magically going to get better, even though absolutely everything I did failed. I wanted to take a holiday once a year, and I was going to call that my bliss, my 1 week of bliss in the ocean. And I was going to make do in any job that I could basically sort of survive as an autistic woman, which is very challenging, exceptionally challenging. I'll make do with whatever friendships come in my way, because, it's better to be accepted for something that you're not than be not accepted for something that you are, right? So on my awakening, the whole question of free will has slowly been chipped away more and more and more as I had to let go of all the beliefs I had around who I was and why I was here and what I was supposed to do. So I guess today we're going to talk a little bit about how somebody goes from living one life and doing a complete and utter U-turn on almost everything, and then living a totally different life, and what that's like. Because, 6-7 years ago, I was obese, I was sick and diseased, I was disordered, I had a laundry list of health conditions. I was despondent at best. I used a lot of addictions as coping mechanisms. And when I say addictions, I'm not talking about being on the street and shooting up heroin. That wasn't my path. My path was to absorb in socially acceptable addictions. Nobody's going to complain if you have a little bit too much to drink at a party, because you're the fun of the party. You're cracking jokes. So binge drinking was my thing for years. Smoking, that's still socially acceptable, kinda. Pot is now legal, so yeah, why not hop on that? Sacred medicines, all the cool kids are doing it, aren't they? I can do it too. Sugar, well, nobody's gonna get mad at you for eating sugar or eating carbs or drinking too much coffee and working too much. All of these are addictions. I just spread them out far and wide into every area so that I was coping with my shitty reality instead of dealing with my shitty reality. And so when I had my wake up call, I had to go through a process of letting go of all of the things that my free will or my ego chose, right? Because our ego is driving the free will bus, and the free will bus says, I'm going to drink this tequila. And the free will bus says, if you just have a pot of coffee, you can get the entire house clean and painted within 24 hours. No problem. Just keep going. You can do a little bit more edging. I was all about the will. Oh my God, I had lots of free will. Free will was making all kinds of crazy decisions on what to do with my life. And where did it get me? It got me into a clusterfuck. My free will. So it did. And my free will chose the bad foods. Nobody put a gun to my head. Sometimes I would say, go get me a healthy dinner. Get me some Kentucky Fried Chicken and a box of donuts, because I'm miserable and my life sucks and I'm going to eat my pain away. And so that was what free will was doing. And so awakening is awakening to your higher self. And your higher self gets louder and louder and louder until you start paying attention. And sometimes it gets loud through disease, through your body actually not being able to cope anymore. And so first and foremost on my awakening path was cure the diabetes. And so I went on a massive diet and exercise kick. I created a program called ABLE that's based on brain chemistry that I learned. And I abled myself right on into health and wellness. And then the next thing was, oh, geez, here's free will saying, I like tequila. I like it. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I like my cigarettes. I love smoking. Absolutely love smoking. It made me feel great. It was a socially acceptable stim. It sucked down all those emotions, those pesky little fuckers that I didn't want to deal with, all that grief and pain and sorrow and fear and everything else. I couldn't suck it down fast enough. You know, I liked this stuff. My ego likes donuts. I haven't eaten a donut now in 5 years, but my ego loved donuts. You know, my life's not sweet. I feel all this bitter inside of me. I'm going to eat this sweet food and make myself feel good because I deserve it. I deserve a treat. And so free will was always looking for instant gratification. It was not looking for the long-term gratification that comes with discipline and comes with truth, absolute truth. And so on this awakening, you'll get presented with truth, like it hits you in the head like a fry pan, and you're like, okay, if I want health and wellness, I can either make decisions that is going to bring me closer to health and wellness, or I can make decisions that are going to bring me further from health and wellness. So I can use my free will to make better choices. And in so doing, the free will, your ego kind of resists. There is resistance. There's excuses that are made. There's debates that go down in your head of, it's not that bad. Oh, well, you know, I only get a little too drunk once in a blue moon. And this, that, and the other. You can come up with all kinds of reasons why you can continue doing the thing that doesn't actually get you the results that you want, but it gets you the short-term gratification of minimizing the suffering. And so on this path, Spirit has shoved in front of my face demands of things that I need to do and alter and change. And some of them have been easy to let go of, relatively. You know, letting go of hair dye wasn't that big a deal, you know. I was like, oh, well, I'll have fun with my hair another way. I'm going to shave it, you know. Like, you know, so that wasn't like hard to let go of. But other things were very hard to let go of. Particularly people were very hard to let go of. And I've changed so dramatically that I lost everyone in my entire life, except for my son. But he's a grown man. We don't like live together, but like he still likes me, which is a blessing, because I could understand maybe if he didn't. I could understand that he might look at me and be completely confused on what the hell happened to his mom, because I'm not the same woman that raised him. I'm not the same woman I was when he was a young child. I am not the same woman I was 10 years ago. I have been altered so dramatically through this process of letting go over and over and over again, using my own free will for my highest calling. So when somebody asks, do we have free will? I believe it is more a question of how are you using your free will? Are you using your free will in alignment with your soul? Or are you using your free will trying to avoid and resist the callings of your soul? That's your free will. You do have a choice. But do you? Because from my personal experience, I can say that every time I tried to use my free will to deviate from what my soul was calling me to do, or God was telling me to do, it would ultimately result in really shitty consequences. For example, eating the donuts resulted in diabetes. And so I hit a rock bottom, or you hit a wall. Free will can only take you so far before you hit some sort of wall or a consequence, a rock bottom. And then you're like, oh my God, I need to alter my behavior. And so then you do a U-turn, and your free will is then making choices to get yourself back into alignment, which then begs the question, do we actually have free will? Kind of not really. It's like we're given a little rope. Those kids they put on like a harness and a leash? That's kind of what free will is. God's got us on a leash and a harness and lets us go so far into the non-alignment with the soul, and then boom, disaster hits and you're pulled back, often against your will. You're pulled back. That pull back might be disease. That pull back might be a tower moment where your entire reality collapses all around you because you lose a job. You get evicted from an apartment. I know that's happened to somebody. You become homeless. I know many on the path that have become homeless. You get embroiled in a legal battle and you can't get out. You get into an accident and get hit by a bobcat and have a concussion. Yeah, that was unpleasant. You get robbed, perhaps. There's any number of hitting a brick wall and something getting so bad that you say, okay, I need to make a different decision. And so that choice point there is stepping yourself back into alignment with soul. And when you're going along this process of getting more and more in alignment with soul, it gets more and more challenging. It really does. Because soul is nudging us, not so nudging, more so kind of kicking our butt sometimes into doing things that we have avoided doing our entire lives. And those could be learning how to feel, learning how to emote. So stick that cigarette down and instead actually feel the emotions that you're trying to repress, or take the food that you're using to swallow down a life situation that shouldn't be swallowed down. When you take those away and you start actually experiencing your life, that's challenging. It is challenging to learn how to have an anxiety attack without thinking you need to go to the hospital, and monitor yourself in the observer so that you can be like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to feel this grief, this sorrow. There isn't a solitary emotion I have not experienced in the last 5 years. And some of them are brutal, absolutely brutal. But you need to learn how to emote. So first, we've learned discipline and using our free will to become more disciplined. Then we learn how to emote and using our free will to create a container to let ourselves have our emotions. And then we have to battle our own mind and our own ego that lies to us continually and tells us things like, you're a failure, you're a fuck up, people aren't going to like you, you're going to be ostracized. And you know what? Maybe you were. Maybe people aren't going to like you. Lots of people don't like me. And I've had to learn to have the courage to be disliked. If the sign of success is that you get negative comments, then I guess I've succeeded. Because every single day somebody says something to me now, and I'm navigating that. And you have to understand where I highly respect people like Jordan Peterson that can just be ripped to shreds by other people and he's unbothered by it. I'm not. I am a very sensitive person, like very sensitive. My capacity for human interaction is challenged because I'm autistic and because I have two things going on at the same time. I have this need for justice, need for there to be integrity and honesty and upfrontness in the situation. This isn't that I don't do nuanced, I am direct. And that means I like with people. So coming on to was not my will's desire. Okay, having people drop negative comments is not something that I'm going to then go and turn and make really good content. I see this now is, people put up a picture of the person that's been insulting them and say, hey, let's look at you. That's not my jam. I don't want to do that. I'm uncomfortable with that kind of stuff. I just want to just do my own thing, help who I can. And if it doesn't resonate, and if I don't resonate, and if I sound like a screaming banshee or like a mermaid egg, like in the Harry Potter thing, to you, turn me off. Just pretend I don't exist. Just let me do my own thing. I just want to live in my own little bubble here. But that's not what spirit wants. That's not what my soul wants. It says, make another video. Make another video. Make a video about something that's going to trigger people. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to have negative commentary when all my life I just wanted to be accepted and loved? And in doing this, I've lost my own family. Not that they were ever there in the first place, but okay, the majority of my thumbs down for a period of time, I know were coming from family members. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you want from me because God is telling me to do one thing and my need to be accepted is telling me to do something different. Or God is telling me to do something else and that's not in alignment with the social structure of my group of friends. And I'm like, at odds. So when you are called into your soul's mission, you're not going to be popular. You're not going to be popular. You're not going to be well liked or well received by everyone. By some people, yes. Some people are very grateful that I have showed up and have told me that I have saved their life. So saving one person's life to me is of greater importance in my world of justice, in my world of integrity in this brain of mine. It's outweighs. It's like save stranger's life. Be liked by my family. Well, I don't know. It seems to me that one's better. So it's like soul has used my autistic brain against me and is pushing me into soul's mission more and more and more. And has it been terrifying? Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to be an actress when I was young. I wanted to be a wife when I was older. I wanted to just have a normal existence within the 3D matrix. I didn't want to be an oracle. I didn't want to channel divine messages. Far from it. I wanted to be well locked in the spiritual closet and never use the word God. Had you said to me anything about surrendering to God 7 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. I was raised in a home that was at best atheist. At best. I was not allowed to go to church or synagogue, except when I had sleepovers at friends' places, and that was like, oh, Saturday? Great. Can we go to church tomorrow? Because I was enthralled by the very notion of it, but it was a no-no in my house. It was a dirty word. Nietzsche lived in my house. God is dead. That's how I was raised. I was not raised to surrender to God. And on this journey, I can remember sometime shortly after this very bizarre catalyst soul came in that people want to use the label of twin flame. I don't give a crap what you call it. It was a crazy experience that I'm still 5 years later trying to wrap my head around. And the reality of it is somebody came into my life and triggered inside of me a metamorphosis that could not be stopped, whether my free will wanted it or not. And trust me, my free will didn't want it. I didn't go out seeking spiritual enlightenment. I thought that was something reserved for people better than me. Okay, I would not have put myself in the same category as Jesus or the Dalai Lama, or I idolize these people as like, they're amazing. I'm just me. I'm nothing. I have no value. I'm unlovable. I am unworthy. I have nothing, because I was told that over and over and over again. So I had self-loathing mastered. And so along comes this catalyst person that activated something in me that ripped me open. It wasn't a pleasant experience. Sure, yeah, that bliss phase had its moments that were like remarkable, but like it rips your heart open. I didn't want my heart ripped open. I didn't want 5 years later still to be having like massive heart activations all morning, 5 hours this morning in prayers, hands on heart, breathing through it. It's still going on. It is a process. I get it. Trust the process. I am learning. Have faith. I am learning. Because my free will didn't want to go down this path, and Spirit said, you've gone far enough down the wrong one. I'm going to bring you right on back and reel you right back into the right one. And so one day I was out doing my aligned walking, getting myself back into physical alignment. And all of a sudden I'm hit by this like wave of light that tells me I am light. And I'm like, I think you're hitting the wrong person in the park. No. What? And I had to go through a total amount of grounding and integration to even realize that I was white. I thought I was dark. And not that I was doing dark things or anything. I wasn't, but I was like an outcast. My people were the black sheeps. My people were the people all dressed in black garb, covered with tattoos, wearing mohawks, and you know, listening to some heavy-duty music because they were the nicest people ever. Absolutely. I've never felt safer in my life than in a community of 100,000 people at a heavy metal concert or a punk rock concert. You just don't see fights. These people are loving in their very nature, but they're outcasts and shunned because they're not fitting in with this mold of society that says, that's all bullshit. You know, it's all bullshit. It's all performance art. And so I didn't fit in the story that goes, once upon a time there was a yogini and she practiced yoga every single day and she ate clean and she didn't do drugs and she, you know, was virginal. I was not any of those things. So when God came along and said, you are light, I looked behind me, figuring the message must be something for somebody else. And then it only continued, and I was sitting one day, and I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. Light. Boom. Hit. I was immediately down, and I was in deep conversation with God. This is the person that didn't even believe. Right? I used to use words in my like spiritual world because I had I was in the closet spiritualist. Those weren't things I discussed with my family at home. I could do my Reiki practice and have some crystals, and I would get made fun for that, and that was about as much as I could go. And I was down. I just like head went forward, and I started bawling, crying, and I said in that moment that I was asked, will you be in the service of God? And I said yes. I used my free will in that moment to make a promise to be in service. Does that mean being in service is easy? That it is doing things I want to do? That it brings me so much comfort and joy? No. No, none of those things. And now I count my blessings, but that doesn't mean it's not been brutal. It 100% is brutal. I don't know, and that is the point of this, I don't know where I am going. I don't know what I am doing half the time. I just show up every day and say, well, what can I do today to be in service today? How can I help somebody today? And that shows up different ways at different times. It isn't a career. My will didn't like that one. My will was like, okay, great. I'm going to be in service. I want $250,000 a year. I want like popularity. I want... No. You're not ready for any of those things, God said. You can't handle one negative comment on a video. How are you supposed to handle 50 or 50,000? And I was like, okay, we'll go slow. We'll go slow. We'll grow slow. We'll do whatever I need to do. The amount of times I've wanted to shut down my YouTube and like run for the hills and like go become an Angora goat farmer in the middle of nowhere. Except then I'd be like alone all the time, except for my goats. I don't know, maybe having a bunch of goats wouldn't be so bad. I do what I'm told to do. Is it easy? It is not. So if you are being called to do things that don't feel good and are hard and require discipline and require surrender, then those are the things you're supposed to do. Those are the things you're supposed to do. I don't have this all sorted out, but I do have enough sorted out to know by now that there's 0 point in trying to run this way or that way with ego in charge, because it's only a matter of time before that rope gets taut and I go, and I fall on my butt, and then I'm like hitting a wall or hitting a rock bottom and reeled right back in. No, sorry. We need you to be in the void space right now. We need you to be in dark night of the soul right now. We need you to be in processing grief right now. We need you to be depressed right now. What? Why would I want to be depressed? How does me being depressed be in service? How does me having bad experiences mean I'm in service? My ego gets upset by these things. And the fact of the matter is, there has to be a shift in perception that says, whatever is happening in this moment is what God wants me to experience. That is not the same sentence as God wants me to be depressed, okay? If I'm depressed, and that's what's happening in this moment with this lovely new moon, which it was this morning, if this morning I'm feeling depressed and feeling tough, is it because God is trying to punish me? No. It is because God wants me to sit still and have the experience that is depression and transmit through that experience with compassion. So now I'm learning the lesson of self-compassion. I'm learning the lessons of self-forgiveness for all the stupid choices that I made when I was running this direction or that direction. Because trust me now, had I known at age 12 or age 16 or age 33 that I was going to one day wake up and hear the call of God and say, I am in service to you, I can tell you I would have lived my life very differently. I would not have drank. I would not have smoked. I would not have had all that free love. I would have done things exceptionally differently. And I had to forgive myself for doing what I did when I didn't know any different, because those experiences God wanted me to experience too. So it's like God said, I need you to go down. Forget that you have any connection to God whatsoever. We're going to put you into a godless home. And you're going to be deeply embedded in undercover work, researching what it is to live without God. So that you know, so that you can have the knowing, the experiential knowing of what that is like. Of why did you get drawn into drinking? Why did you get drawn into smoking? Oh, because of the traumas that you experienced. And now you have a greater sense of an awareness and experience and compassion, which means you're the perfect person to be able to help other people through this. Oh, yes, it's not book smarts that makes people good at their job. It's helpful, and I have education, but my education is nothing compared to God's education. My education, great. I learned all about the medicine wheel and different theories of addiction and which drugs were more addictive than the other drugs and which ones I should avoid and which ones it was not so bad that were socially acceptable that I could get away with. I could blend in. But God's school is like, I want you to learn it the hard way so that you can help other people that have been down on their luck and living in the hard way and have experienced trauma. Not because it's going to make you popular, not because it's going to make you rich, because it's going to make you in service. So being in service and you're using your free will to choose to be in service is the ultimate act of free will. Free will says, no, I want to do this. And then when you go through enough life lessons, free will says, no, I want to do what you think is best for me. Because obviously, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what's in the best interest of me. I know what's not. I know what I could do differently and what I should do differently. And so I'm going to try to learn what it is to do differently. Free will to me is a little bit like, and I see myself a lot like a wild Mustang. I have a lot of oomph to my personality, a lot of get her done. And I spent most of my life running the plains as trying to be as free as possible and run free. Freedom has been a huge quest of mine. And in so doing, I was choosing the only choices that were available to me at the time. To find that sense of freedom. But what I didn't see, what each of those was just entangling me into another trap. It wasn't true freedom. It was just another attachment. And so awakening is like being taken by God and put into a corral where you're bucking and you're fighting and you're neighing and you're like responding. And what is happening is all the attachments that are wrapped around this wild creature are being cut, are being cleared so that you're free of it. And then you have to learn to become tame. So it's like you have a handler that is divine now, and everything in you is trying to resist it and fight it, not realizing that it's actually in your highest and greatest good to surrender to God. And this is not something our minds, if you've not been raised with it, or our minds, if you've been raised in a distorted version of it, or our minds in our societal understanding of the age of reason. It's not easy for your mind to succumb to the divine, to surrender fully and completely, and be in an absence of any plans, this is what my life's going to look like next year and this year and that year, and, be stripped of all of that, all of it, and be in the now, which feels like a big, huge void of not knowing. I have zero knowing what's going to happen in my life. Like, honest to God. Am I staying? Am I going? It's hilarious. I've had another dude come to look at the hot water system, and he's like, I'm sorry, can't fix this. So that makes 3 dudes now. Now waiting on another dude from a different company. And so I'm like, I don't know what this means. I don't speak plumbing, spirit, whatever you're trying to show me. So I have to process through the fear of potentially leaving. Or am I staying? And so spirit's like, here's a test. How are you going to respond? Are you going to freak out? I'd like to. Nope, that's not allowed. You've got to be malleable. We got to be flexible. We got to be fluid. And so we go, okay, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening in my work world. I don't know what's happening in my relationships. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. And you got to be fine with not knowing, surrendering to not knowing, and being in a place where you're completely like, and give it to God. Whatever is meant to be will be in God's time and in God's way. Sorry, my foot is falling asleep. It's hard. It's beyond challenging to have blind faith. Blind faith that whatever is meant to be will be. And whatever is meant to be. So if the isness is heart clearing, and if the isness is seeing things and clearing the third eye and seeing people and seeing situations in a different light, if the isness is seeing your own self and your own habits and your own behaviors and your own thought patterns and your own way of, whatever the isness is, as horrible as the isness might be, that's exactly where you need to be in that moment. That's where God needs you to be, because if we don't experience the recognition of the negative things that we've experienced, then we can't make and use our free will to make better choices. It's not going to be easy. It may not be what you want to do. It may be the thing you're most scared to do. Like learn to drive for me, or a friend I know, she was terrified of the water and terrified of swimming. And now she teaches children swimming. What? That's her soul's goal. Her soul's purpose was to push her into being a swimming teacher. That's where she's meant to be. She was terrified of it. So if you're terrified of it, that's a pretty good sign that's exactly what you're supposed to do. If it's easy, that's a pretty good sign that's what your ego wants to do. It's easy to have the cigarette. It's easy to fall off the wagon. It is easy to do the things that taste good. Big Slurpee and a sugar donut. It's easy to do those things. So are we wanting to do easy, or are we wanting to do difficult? Are we wanting to have short-term gratification, or are we wanting to have long-term results? That's what we use our free will. So do we have free will? Yes and no. We're given as long a rope as Spirit's going to give us, but ultimately Spirit's hoping you're going to, when you hit the end of the rope, you're going to use that free will to march yourself right back into alignment with yourself. And so that's what we're doing here on this channel, is learning to love the fuck out of ourselves, to show ourselves compassion, to show ourselves forgiveness, to learn all the lessons that we need to learn. And there's so many of them. And to understand that no matter how brutal an experience that we are having in that moment, it shall pass, and it is for our highest and greatest good. On the topic of nasty comments, I did have a comment the other day getting very angry with me and calling out my ideas as being bullshit, because I was basically saying, that our suffering, there's a purpose to it. And they said, well, unless I've ever slept under a bridge in the middle of winter, I don't know what I'm talking about, and therefore it's bullshit. So I can understand why people would be angry at their suffering. I'm not angry or upset with him or her for being angry, okay? They have every right to be angry with their experiences, just like you have every right to be angry with your experiences. There's nothing wrong with anger, per se. It's how we channel it and use it and direct it I have a little bit of a problem with, Like, I understand you're angry and you want to lash out at somebody, but we need to use our free will to make better decisions there. But I understand, and I actually feel a lot of compassion for them, that they have suffered. No, I've not personally slept under a bridge, but I think we've established that I have experienced my own suffering. The fact of the matter is, there isn't a human on this planet that hasn't suffered. There isn't. That is the human condition. And so if it's the human condition to suffer, then we need to understand that our suffering is not in vain, and it's not because God wants us to suffer. It's because in the suffering we learn. In the suffering, in the experiential happening, we learn lessons, lots and lots of lessons. Some learn quicker than others. Some get stuck in the emotion and still need to process through it. So I'm sending out to compassion to everybody that is suffered. I'm sending out compassion to everybody that has used their free will to grab the closest thing available to get them out of suffering, whether it be drugs, alcohol, anything. I'm not judging you for that. And I'm showing compassion to anybody that has strong emotions surrounding some of their experiences. I understand your experiences, and I want you to know how very much I wish I could make it better for absolutely everybody on the planet so nobody suffered. But that's not the nature of this, and that's beyond my pay grade. That's a God thing. That's a soul thing. Your soul chose this in some way, shape, or form, and then people don't want to hear that, and that's okay. I understand that too. And I understand that one of the things that I can do is understand. I can understand. That doesn't mean I'm going to accept aggression. It does not. I still am going to keep myself out of harm's way as much as I can. But I do understand how challenging and how difficult this awakening process is. And I also understand how difficult your life has been. If you resonate with me, then you've probably on the same path of many difficult childhood, adolescent, and adult experiences: abuse, abandonment, adoption, assaults, bullying, and worse, because this awakening path isn't easy. And there's a saying that God doesn't give us any more than we can handle. And I believe it was Mother Teresa who said, that's great and all, but I just wish God didn't trust me so much. And you may feel that as much as I have felt that, like, enough already. But the fact is that each of these experiences is in some way for my highest and greatest good. Would I choose them? No. No, I would not have chosen any of these experiences that I had, any of the suffering that I have experienced. I wouldn't have chosen it from an egoic point of view. From a soul's point of view, my soul did. It was part of my soul's contract to come down and experience this suffering, to end generational curses and trauma from being passed on to my son, to breaking generational trauma lines, to help facilitate healing for as many people as I can support, and to offer understanding from being somebody who has walked the path and continues to walk the path with you. So I'm sending absolutely everybody all of my love, and I know it's challenging. If you need help, please feel free to join the Spiritual Warrior Support Group on Facebook, so that you have a community of 1,500 other warriors that are going through this as well, and they can help you. If you want to have a more intimate setting, please feel free to join the Spiritual Warrior Support Group Google Meet meetings on Wednesdays and Fridays. Go on to theyoumovement.com to get more information for that. If you're wanting even more intimate connection to discuss issues around your soul's mission, stepping into alignment with soul and free will, you can book a one-on-one with me. And the way to do that is also on my website, theyoumovement.com. And I'm sending every single warrior out there absolute love. It is not easy. But if I can show up and help even one person today feel understood, seen, heard, loved, cared about, I'll just keep doing it. I'm going to just keep doing day in, day out what God wants me to do. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't even matter what I think. Peace. Peace in. Peace in.